Hi, it's Lisa Cuneo, and welcome to my scrapbook table. Today is day 15 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. And this is the sketch for today created by me. And it has 2 photos, though I'm using 3. There's a little spot for journaling, a title space, and here is the original layout that I created a few years ago that I loved and I created the sketch from. And it all happened because I had that one sheet of leafy 6x6 paper, and I wanted to make it work for that page of my mom and me and my daughter and me. So that's where the idea of splitting the patterned paper up and stretching it across the top half of the layout came from. And the sketch has stitching. I am not stitching today because I broke my daughter's sewing machine. So I still have to deal with that. Or maybe my husband could deal with that. I'm using this winter collection from Simple Stories. I love these soft colors. I have the frames. I do use one of those, but I don't use it as a frame. I'm not good at using frames, but I find other ways to use them. I have a piece of blue cardstock there, and I also have a piece of textured cardstock. I have to apologize for the lighting. I don't have my ring light up right now, and it is incredibly dreary here today. I have very little natural light coming in, so I'm sorry about the lighting. And even though that page, the textured paper at the bottom is uneven, I'm going to use it anyway. And I cut apart this favorite paper from the package of mine, but then I realized there's little tiny fine print on it, and I have the print going the wrong way. So I decided, okay, I got to pick a different one. So I went with this soft pink snowy print. It's almost like a really soft plum color. And there's just white snowflakes on it. Real soft, real pretty. I didn't measure or anything. I just laid them down. And looking at it now, they're pretty even. Close enough for me. And I ended up, I thought like in my original one of my mom and daughter and me, I wanted to frame it with something a little bit different. And I thought of trying to use the ones with the words, but I knew it was going to bug me. So I used this stripe, which I like because it brings in both the blue and that mauve color. And I take 2 of the strips that I originally intended to use vertically, and I use them horizontally to kind of cover over the seam of the 2 papers. I took the whole thing to my trimmer and trimmed off the excess. Finally got this piece straight. That was a struggle for some reason. I don't know why. But there we go. That's all glued down. Oh, I guess it's not. And I'm thinking about what else am I going to put on here? And I pulled out this frame. And I decided I'm going to cut away the frame part and use that pretty top. But I ended up taking quite a bit of it off because it just felt too big for the page and the space I had for it. If I had it to do over, I would pull the photos down and create more space at the top, but that's not what happened, and that's okay. I'm happy with how it turned out. I like that bird on the branch at the bottom. It's a chipboard piece from this collection. And I went ahead and matted all my photos just in a Simple Stories gray. One of them's actually a gray wood grain because I'm down to my last scraps of the gray that I love, and you can't really tell that they're different because the frame is so small. So I pulled out this 6x8 sheet, and I decided I was going to use one of those 2 bottom cut-apart cards to be a tag or the like above the photos and act as a place for a title. And I decide on this one. And I just use a die from an old Stampin' Up! Die set. I don't even remember what it's called. But it just gave it kind of a fancy doily-like edge around it. And it does have a word on there, but I end up covering that over with a chipboard word that's a little bit bigger, because that one is just too tiny to really have much presence on the page. And for the pieces that are chipboard, I do go ahead and peel off a lot of the chipboard so that they aren't quite as thick. I prefer that when I'm using chipboard. It's too thick as is for me to be happy with it. So I usually thin it down a little bit just by peeling some off. I tuck this down behind the pictures. Put a little bit of glue back there. There we go. Now I decide again that this is still too big, so I'm trimming some off. I also added some labels from the sticker book. I added one under that temperature page there, or temperature photo. It wasn't the coldest day, but it was the coldest day that I was able to remember to take a picture or a screenshot when it was cold. So this morning it was 6 degrees. Wind chill of -10 right then. And as I say in my journaling, this year was a pretty mild winter for Northeast Ohio. We only had to clear the driveway one time. However, we did have a series of very cold days with lows around -10 and wind chills even colder. And I just put, besides the screenshot of the weather, I took a picture of an icy bush and a teacup, because tea is an important part of getting through winter for me. And there I add the circle label behind the bird. Have a little other tiny label up there where I put the dates. And now I'm peeling off these snowflakes, and after I get this one stuck down, I realize these are not trimmed well at all. So it's probably because I bought this through Peachy Cheap or Peachy Planner, because usually the Simple Story stickers books that I buy are pretty well done. So maybe that's why this was there. I don't really know how that works. Nothing else about the whole collection I bought seemed off, just these snowflake stickers. So anyway, it was no big deal. I just trimmed them a little bit and it's fine. I didn't do them perfectly. I just took enough of the white off so that it didn't look off balance. And I added a few of those in both clusters. And now I'm adding the date. I thought I might have trouble because of the textured cardstock, but it turned out okay. But I knew I couldn't do all my journaling on the textured cardstock. So in a moment here, you'll see that I get out a die that cuts journaling strips and cut some of those in just a light gray pattern. And that goes, in the sketch, the journaling goes to the right of the photos, but since I use 3 photos, I don't really have space for that. So I put my journaling beneath them, kind of nestled it between the photos and the bird. And there I added my title, which is just Wintertime. And you'll also see toward the end that the big chipboard piece I moved over to the right-hand side of the page. And there I am, figuring out spacing for these, how many do I want, how many am I going to need for what I'm writing. And I ended up with about 4.5 strips. Here's the last one going down. Oh, it's not the last one, next to the last one. And there was a little extra. This one was going to be a little bit too long, And it just worked out that I could trim the end off and make it shorter because I had just kind of filled in the gap at the end of my sentence and I wrote burr, but I didn't need burr. So since it fit better without it, I trimmed that off, came back in with my marker to add my punctuation, and there we go. So now we're coming down to the end and I'm thinking about the stitching. And I know I don't want to hand stitch this. I just don't have time right now for hand stitching. So I decided to pull in some silver cord. And I just wrap that around the layout 3 times in place of the stitching. And yep, there we go. I've had this silver cord for ever. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to the end of this roll of cord. It might be from when I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator many, many years ago. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I got my head in there. Anyway, I just flip this over, tape it to the back with some washi tape, wrap it around 3 times, make sure I don't want it to look perfect, so I kind of staggered the lines a little bit. And I like that. The silver works well with the colors in the ice in the photo and with the splatters that I'm going to add in a little bit also. And there we go. Little more tape, and that's all done. So I think the next thing I do is glue on the upper chipboard piece. And looking back, I don't know, maybe I should have left it, but it just seemed too crowded to me. And see there, I'm still mulling it over because I'm tapping my fingers. And I'm also thinking about how am I going to finish this page off. But I go ahead, I glue this down. And there we go. It's done. Oh, not quite. Now it's done. I had to hold it for a little while because of the cord that's there. And then I'm thinking about some splatter. And I wasn't sure. I got my box of stuff from Shimmers. My Shimmers paints and sprays and things. And I pulled out this one. Something chrome. And it's a really bright, sparkly silver color. I just splattered that around. I'm really not good at splattering. I get big glops where I don't want big glops and things, but it turned out okay. I did go ahead and add some particularly in particular places. So we're coming to the end here. There are some still shots. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll play along with Christy's beautiful sketches. And I said that wrong. 30 days of sketches with Christy's beautiful life. I hope you have a great day. Bye.